Internet. I'm Chris Reynolds, Senior Developer Advocate at Pantheon, and today on the stream we're going to be talking about site migration, site builds when you're going from one version of your site to a new version of your site. And these types of migrations are often these huge, painful processes that you need to calibrate and get right the first time because you don't want your site to go down catastrophically at the last minute because you didn't get all of your ducks in the row. But Brad Williams and Mitch Canter at WebDevStudios demoed a way at WordCamp US last year to take a more measured approach to that process that allows you to migrate your site incrementally. So let me bring them up onto the stage. Welcome Brad and Mitch to the stream. First off, why don't you introduce yourselves in case there's anyone out there who doesn't know who you are already?
Sure. Yeah. Thanks for having us, Chris. I'll kick it off. My name is Brad Williams. Good to see the internet out there. And I am the founder of WebDevStudios. So we are a WordPress development and design agency founded in 2008. So our 18th year in business, we've been building amazing WordPress experiences with companies of all sizes. Worked with Chris, had the pleasure to work with Chris for a number of years. So, been around for a while. We've seen a lot. We've built some really cool stuff, and we're going to show off some of that today. So yeah, thanks for having us.
Yeah. Hey, everybody. I'm Mitch. I am the Director of Engineering here at WebDevStudios. I've been here for a couple of years, but I've been in the WordPress community for over 2 decades at this point. Done everything from blog designs to boutique web development to running enterprise and high education level WordPress websites, spoken at numerous conferences. And now here at WebDevStudios, I'm the certified cat wrangler. My job is to make sure that all of our developers have what we need or have what they need to be able to get their work done, come in and help them with questions and, any blocks that they have. And still really, even after all these years, just love digging in and developing with WordPress, which I think says a lot about the WordPress as a platform as well. But thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Yeah, for sure. And today we're going to be talking about ThemeSwitcher Pro, which is a product that you built over the last, I don't know, you can tell me how long you've been working on it. But even before we get into what it does, I wanted to take a minute to sort of just reflect on the fact that like web dev has always kind of, at least as far as I know, has really been interested in doing sort of product development alongside the agency stuff that you do. So it's sort of oftentimes coming out of the agency stuff that you do. So what is it about building distributable products that appeals to you as a WordPress development agency? Brad, you're
Yeah, great question. One of the things, so we're, a client services agency, that's really at our core, right? Building websites, supporting clients any way that they might need that. However, as you stated, we also have a product side where we've, for a number of years have built and released products, some free, some paid, many of them on WordPress.org. Custom post type UI is probably the most famous one people are familiar with. We built that, launched that before WordPress 3.0 came out with custom post types. So been around for a long time and it has over 1 million users, 20 million plus active downloads. So, and then on the premium side, which, we're going to get in a ThemeSwitcher, honestly, free or even premium, a lot of these products and ideas that we've released, a lot of them come from the work that we're doing with clients, right? So we're looking for opportunities to say, hey, is this something that one is we might want to use again, either on another client project or otherwise, and two, is this something other people might be interested in, right? Is it so specific to that client that no one would ever do something with it? Yeah, of course, that's great for the client, right? But that's not something we want to open source and put out there. But if it's a tool or something that we feel strongly is valuable and there is something to that, we will definitely have conversations about it internally and make some decisions. Do we want to release it? Do we want to release it free? Do we want to just throw it up on GitHub? Do we want to make it a paid, a paid product because the support and integration and just the development of it really, justifies that premium side of it. So a lot of it comes from our client work and comes from us bringing solutions to challenges and then just asking the question, would other people want these solutions, right? And that's where naturally, go into the product space. So it's a lot of fun building products, building plugins, like just doing things with WordPress. We've always really enjoyed it. So it's also fun for my team to do things, some different things, right? Not always just client work, but to work on some products.
Yeah. And it's funny because, ThemeSwitcher Pro specifically, obviously we're a distributed agency. We have people all over the world. But we still try to have those water cooler moments where we come together and discuss the work we're doing and try and figure out like, how do we break through some of the problems we're having? And ThemeSwitcher Pro, everybody talks about like how these grand designs came out for some of the work that they've done, but it was literally just a virtual water cooler, a Slack conversation where we're trying to figure out how to solve a problem for one of our clients. And somebody brings up man, this would be really easy to solve if we could just run 2 WordPress themes on the same website. And it kind of was this light bulb moment of like, why can't we? Like, nobody's tried this before. Like, why couldn't we do that? And so the beta of ThemeSwitcher Pro was born from that. And even in its earliest days, it was able to do, what we promised on the tin. And it's the ability to be able to take a WordPress theme and look at a different page on that website and run a different theme on it, and be able to set it up in the way to where you can take a larger website that you might not want to be able to invest a lot of time in up front to be able to migrate over to Gutenberg, which I know I want to talk about a lot later, because Gutenberg is a big part of why we developed this. But to be able to make it accessible to do it over time in a longer period of time, either as a person doing it for yourself, or as an agency that's looking for clients to come in that may not have those high dollar proposals coming in, but where something that's kind of spread out over more time, with a kind of a lesser impact month to month on the budget, makes a lot of sense to a client. And it's an ability where we kind of ship of Theseus it, right? It starts out as one thing, but by the time it's over, all of the pieces have been replaced, and it's exactly where you want it to be.
And that's we talked to water cooler, but really just the trend of the industry, right? Because really, this really stemmed from a couple of years ago, and just the people want to get more done for less, right? Budgets aren't what they were, and getting larger. Hey, we have a website; it's done well for us, but we know it's dated. It's on Classic Editor. We know we want to upgrade it. What's that look like? Well, to go and say, okay, well, we've got to rebuild the whole thing. That's a big initiative, right?
Yeah.
That's 5-6 figure maybe project. That's not just a money thing, but it's also a time commitment on the client side, right? To rebuild your whole website is a big process, right? And if it's for a company or organization, you got to get it right. You got to get it right, because especially whatever our client stakeholders are, it's their name on the line too, right? That they hired the right agency, that they made the right decisions, and that they are able to upgrade. So what we're running into is just challenges of, we present these great plans, but just budgets weren't where they needed to be. So we're like, is there some way we could chip away at this using this idea of ThemeSwitcher, right? So it's exactly what we're doing, right? Where we're, rather than just saying, hey, come to us and we'll do a 3 or 4 month complete redesign and rebuild, we're like, hey, come to us and we'll basically iteratively upgrade your site over 12, 18, 24 months. Like, we could stretch this out. We could work with your budget. We can say, hey, let's just hit your most impactful pages first. One of the first companies we worked with ThemeSwitcher, I think it was like 95% of their traffic goes to the single article page. It's a media site. Most of their traffic is a single article page. That's where we started. Hey, let's replace a single article page. Now, 99% of your traffic is being served a highly performant modern block theme. Your editors can now write, their content using the Gutenberg block editor. So that massively upgrades what they can do. So rather than just rebuilding the whole thing, we focused on the problem area, and we've really solved their problem, right in that area, to bring the page load down, help their editors, like just really, help their website. So, there is definitely the cool thing that we've discovered by doing this is that it has, for us, and what we're also kind of educating, I would say, that the community is, it has opened up an additional revenue stream for us. This is now another option we can put on the table. When somebody comes in and says, hey, we're on the old website, we're on Classic Editor, we really want to get the blocks, what can we do? Hey, we got some options. We can talk about. It's not just traditional rebuild the whole thing and relaunch. There are options. So in this day and age, you need to stand apart. You need options, and especially need to be thinking cost conscious, as every company is right now. So this is an option that, if you're interested in it, check out our videos. We'll go through some demos, and reach out if you have questions. Because again, we're kind of educating. We're using this. We're getting work through our clients and people walking the door using our product. You can use our product to do the same thing, whether it's your own website or whether you're a builder, an agency, a freelancer. You could use our product to drum up more business. And I think that's the real big takeaway for any of the builders out there, is check out our videos, look at this, and then think about how you could potentially use this for your clients and your work, because this is a good option that it resonates with a lot of people that are walking in our door.
Well, it's almost like you've done this before, because I was going to transition into asking you about telling the story of the product, but you've already done that for me. So I'm just going to bring your screen up, your desktop up on the screen, and have you walk us through what it is.
Nothing better than a live demo.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So yeah, as you can see, and I'll be honest, like, I wanted to find something that was reflective of where a lot of websites are. And I mean, there are websites. This is 2010, right? For anybody that wonders which theme this is using. And there are still websites out there running older themes like this. And we're going to be focusing on classic editor content, but realistically, this is an option to be able to move you over to Gutenberg and a block centric full site editing infrastructure from really anywhere. Not that we don't like ACF blocks, because we love ACF. We use it quite a bit here, even today at WebDevStudios. Various page builders that are out there. All of those have the potential to be transitioned over into full site editing and a block theme by using ThemeSwitcher Pro. So we've started very basic, just for the sake of the demo here. We've got a typical website. You've got content on the left, a sidebar on the right. The sidebar has a few widgets. The inner work here has headings, bullet lists, block quotes, etc. We've installed ThemeSwitcher. We've got it activated. So what I can do is I can actually go in and edit this page. And I can say, you see the classic editor here, which I know a lot of people hopefully don't see nowadays. But usage statistics, even from, I think, last year, and I think I'm right on this number, was that we're looking at like single digits, even on some cases, for adoption of the Gutenberg block editor. Like, it's been very, very slow. And another reason that we wanted to really put some time and effort into ThemeSwitcher is because we as an agency believe in full site editing, and we believe in the block editor because it's the way that WordPress is moving. And we want to make sure that we're working with our software and not trying to fight against it. And so this was a no-brainer for us. But you've got a classic editor screen here. When you activate ThemeSwitcher Pro, you'll notice that down here on the bottom right, there's a new sidebar widget that pops up in your classic editor that says, which theme do you want to select? And so we've actually taken a few precautions and set up some things ahead of time. And obviously we've got every theme here that we could choose from, but we're pretty partial to Mike McAllister's Ollie over here at WebDevStudios. We use it for a lot of the projects that we do. And so I can select that theme and hit update. And the first thing you'll notice is immediately that the block editor pops right up. I haven't changed the theme inside of the backend. All that I've done is activated this from a page-based level. And then I can immediately come in and hit the convert to blocks button. And now all of the content that I had here in my classic editor is now block-based and ready to go. And so I can save this post. I can view it on the front end and switch to that tab. And you'll notice that there's the new header up at the top, which is Ollie's. There's the new footer down at the bottom, also powered by Ollie. And if I were to go back to the original site, which is still on the homepage, we haven't changed that yet, but you can see that this is still based in 2010. And I can actually go back to the dashboard and show you, like, there's no trickery or anything. Like, 2010 is the active theme that we're using here in the appearance editor. And then I can go to the pages themselves and say, like, here's my classic editor page. I can view it, and it's now running on Ollie. And if I edit that, that brings up the ability to do so many more things. We've got all of the blocks that we have access to. We can start adding in columns if I wanted to add, more unique layout sort of stuff. Have an image here that I can post in from the media library, a little bit of text over here, and the sky becomes the limit with everything that I want to be able to put in at this point. And if your theme already has some of these patterns defined, which I know themes like Ollie do, you can even start to go in and work with their more premium pattern libraries, and immediately be able to get everything out of that you would with a typical block-based theme. And again,
and this is
yeah.
Sorry, Mitch, I didn't mean to cut you off, but this, anyone watching this, thinking about using this, that's the light bulb moment right there. When you show someone saving a page and it goes from classic to blocks, and not only that, but you can convert the classic content to blocks, and then all those patterns, like all those Ollie patterns, are available. How long did that take you? Like 30 seconds? Like, that is hugely powerful. And if you demo that to a client or to one of your customers, or even if you're the maintainer of the website, you already understand the power of what we're doing here. A classic website now has an Ollie powered page in about 30 seconds. It's a block power page done in about 30 seconds on a non-block website, right? This is a massive game changer because now that page is performant, it's easy to work with, it's fast, so you can imagine one page at a time. That takes a while, but you could do it, right? And it also really, 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 I don't want to say eliminate in terms we talk about launch and the stress of launch. I don't want to say eliminates risk. There's always a risk with the launch, but when you're launching new pages, think about redesigning a homepage. You could create a new block homepage, and you know how you go live with that? You go to your reading settings and say, make homepage 2 my homepage, and boom, your new homepage is live. That's it. That's it. It's just a setting. So it just brings down the idea of like replacing pages. It just turns into swapping them essentially. Of course, you want to work with your clients and make sure you have a plan of how you're going to do that. But I'm oversimplifying a little bit, but it really is. You're just swapping pages as you go. And we can dig in more. We can do this larger across post types, because the idea of page at a time probably is not the most likely. Of course, homepage and some other ones, but all posts, right? All pages you could do. We'll get into some other stuff, but Mitch, maybe you want to show off some of that because that's, again, you start to see the ideas start flowing immediately when you start seeing this in action. It gets exciting.
We do have a couple questions in the chat. Troy spoke up, friend of the channel. He's been on the live stream before. He says, how would you approach using ThemeSwitcher on a client site where they also have custom blocks that also require updates or realignment with the theme changes?
It's a great question. And realistically, as with many good answers in life, it depends, right? The hope would be that the plugin, that the blocks themselves, the custom blocks, are rolled into some sort of a helper plugin, which could then be deployed on really any theme that you have. If the blocks are kind of dependent on the theme itself, realistically, there probably would need to be some unhooking that goes along. And we're trying to work with ways that we can utilize current theme architecture better when you're switching over to a theme. But in some cases, like it does make a lot of sense to maybe unhook those custom blocks from the theme itself, put them into a helper plugin, which means that they're then theme agnostic at that point. You can use them no matter what theme you're in. And then you can do any, you insert your custom block into the new theme, and you'd be able to then modify using the built-in block controls, which again, it's one of the nice things about Gutenberg, right? You do get the ability to go in and kind of fine tune and granularly control margins and fonts and colors and all of that from the sidebar, the palette on the side. But again, like what we're doing is we're switching, and I haven't mentioned it yet, but like the idea behind ThemeSwitcher is that it's not loading multiple themes at the same time. It's actually short-circuiting the load stack for the page itself. And so I liken it to a train switcher, right? You can either go down one line straight, or there's a junction here, and you can immediately transfer over to a different line. And that's what we're doing with WordPress themes. We're actually short-circuiting and junctioning the load stack in order to be able to load all of the necessary things in the new theme. Now, that does mean that some of the old theme settings, like any theme specific blocks, wouldn't have access. But again, if those are something that's done in a helper plugin where you've separated functionality from form, then you would be able to insert those blocks and style them independently on how they're styled in the old theme that you're using. I hope that answers the question. So, but
it's actually a really valid point because a lot of I wouldn't say a lot, but sometimes core functionality of a website ends up in like a themes functions file. Mm-hmm. Things you need to think about, right? If the ultimate goal is to sunset or retire the old theme, make sure you audit the functions file. Make sure you look for anything specific to that theme that really should be maybe pulled into a plugin to make it more agnostic, like Mitch said. And that way it doesn't matter. Not everyone does that, but some people do put core functionality in that function. So just be cautious if you are. And that only really comes into play if the theme has switched, of course, because now that functions file is not running. Right. Or when you go to sunset that old theme, then it would obviously turn off and it wouldn't run at all. So,
well, Mitch, you started getting into like the guts and like the how the templates, how the pages actually work from like a developer perspective, and I like as a nerd and as a developer, like one of the things that I was thinking right off the bat is like what kind of like at some level there's a query somewhere, there's like some sort of if else, right? There has to be. So like Is there, have you observed, or how are you handling sort of any sort of performance concerns that might come up of like adding an extra question mark to the execution, or because you're doing it so early, or where you're hooking in, uh, it's early enough that it's not even having a discernible effect.
Yeah, and your latter statement is correct. Like, our goal again is not to run 2010 and Ollie side by side on every page. Our goal is to run Ollie on the pages that we've told it to run Ollie, and 2010 on the pages that are the default theme at this point, right? There is a check that runs, and it's, it's really any developer logic would be pretty easy to say, like, what theme do we want to run here? Or is this theme switched? And if it is, then it says, great, which theme are we using? And it immediately goes and loads that theme natively inside of that call stack. So we're not calling 2010 and then Ollie. We're calling Ollie instead of 2010, and immediately running through the theme load stack if we were natively running Ollie on that page. And you can, I muted myself. You can see here in the post, the settings page for ThemeSwitcher. Like, again, this is done early enough to where WordPress contextually knows what kind of page that you're on, whether it's a single page, a single post, an archive, and etc. And basically, we have it to where if you wanted to replace all of your single articles out of the gate with a different theme, you could do so. And the way that it works is that the load stack is default, settings page, per page settings. So you could even, not that I would recommend this to anyone, but the maximum number of themes we've been able to run on a single website at the same time is 42. You would not want to do that.
Is that because you stopped at 42, or because there's actually like a hard limit somewhere?
We got bored at that point. Like, well, no, I'm just kidding. I mean, 42 is the ultimate answer to the question, right?
Well, that was
there's the nerd. I was waiting for the nerd answer. I knew it was in there. I knew it was in there.
So, could it go even higher? Yes, absolutely. Because again, we're loading them siloed. We're individually making sure that each theme is being loaded as it needs to be. So it could be 10, it could be 100, it could potentially be 1,000. We haven't tested that yet, so put a little asterisk by that one.
To be clear, we don't really recommend you running 42 themes, right? Like, you could, right? Just like you could run 42 plugins. Probably not recommended though. Like, make sure you have a good strategy going into it. But I'm glad you mentioned the performance piece, because security as well, but performance, when we got into this, that was the first question we asked. We can't build something like this if it's not performant, especially with the type of clients we work with. So we have used this product on clients that get significant traffic on some large hosts, just like Pantheon, right? So so this thing has been stress tested at scale for clients that are getting traffic more than most sites that we work with. So because we knew if this wasn't performant, it's a non-starter. We can't roll a product out for our clients that is going to be an immediate performant hit on every load. In this day and age, that's a non-starter. So we made sure the way we built it is very performant. To Mitch's point, we're not just trying to load. If you had 42 themes, we're not loading all 42. We're loading exactly the one that needs to display on that page based on what the settings are. So,
and we've checked this with tools like Page Speed Insights and Lighthouse, and run it. We've run the test of if we're switching to Ollie versus running Ollie natively, what is the performance difference? And it is negligible and minimal, because we wanted something that was performant to be able to act as if it were running the theme natively, which is the goal with this, is to make it look and function like you're running a separate theme on a separate part of the website. So yeah, in the settings here, again, we're short-circuiting, or we're junctioning the theme early enough to where you can say, I want it done on all of my single posts, all of my single pages. I want the front page to be able to be done in a new theme automatically. So that way, if I've got a separate front page, I can edit that. The archive settings to be able to say, I want all of my categories, my tags. If you're using CPT UI, all of those plugins or all of those post types would show up here as well. If you've got them hard coded into your theme or a helper plugin, those would show up here as well. But it takes all of the native listing of categories, tags, taxonomies, etc., and brings those in to be able to show those in the way that you need to. We do have, for, again, people that are using the classic editor, we detect automatically whether that plugin is in use. and we can override the classic editor automatically. So anytime that there's an Ollie theme, for example, being used on a page, it will automatically move to the block editor as the first default instead of the classic editor, which I think gives a better experience, because if you're using a new theme and immediately end up back in the classic editor, you're like, did anything actually happen here? Like, what's going on? But it's just a seamless way to move from classic to block without a lot of friction. And that's just as important to us as users, right? I know the terms dog fooding, a lot of people on our agency don't like it, but we use our own product and we want to make it as easy for us to use as it is for our clients. Because if we're going to get frustrated with it, chances are someone else is as well. So,
what types of that's really interesting. What type of cases do you have for your own site or your own projects where you're using ThemeSwitcher?
We've started to roll it out on WebDev.com. So one thing I'm working on is basically creating a bunch of landing pages on our primary site that are powered by other themes. So we have an Ollie page, we have a couple others, an Astra, a few others, but we're going to roll those all out and then have this big kind of showcase like, hey, it's WebDev, and we're running all these different themes, and you go check it out, right? Run your test, do whatever you want. So so that's a big area we've been using it to test it out is directly on WebDev.com, and that's our our flagship website. So
yeah,
we also have several clients that we've used them on. In fact, one of Pantheon's own, Boise State, we've actually been working with them. And if anybody watched any of the archives from WordCamp Asia, one of our own JC Palmez was in there, and she was talking about the work that we did on Boise State in order to migrate them over time. And it's something we're continuing to do even now. And it's a long-term engagement, like we talked about, to where it's something that's not done all at once, but it's stretched out, not even, in some cases from a budgetary standpoint, but just the load of their editorial staff. They don't have the time to be able to go in and do all of this work all at once, but can they fit it in over the course of a couple of months through the course of their daily work that they're doing? Absolutely. And it made the most sense to them. So, but yeah, they're on and continuing to use ThemeSwitcher Pro. And again, no performance hits, no security incidents. It's just a seamless experience for them.
Well, and higher ed seems like it's a really good and interesting case too, because oftentimes higher ed institutions don't want to do anything to the site during the school year. So basically, their window is the summer term when there's no classes, or there's like less classes and there's less students and there's less people using the site, because during the year they need the site to just function and no major changes, right? So this seems like it would be a really good way of like, okay, we're not going to change the entire site, but over the summer, maybe we start implementing this theme, and then maybe over the course of the year, we can slowly like, oh, this department is okay. They feel comfortable like rolling out an update to this section of the site, but we're not flipping that switch that what I talked about at the top of the stream, right? Of like the getting everything perfect, all of your T's crossed and your I's dotted, so that you can flip the switch and do the major overhaul like on, D-Day or whatever. Like you can actually slowly roll this stuff out over time.
Yeah. There's no big launch event, right? So that big, hey, all hands on deck, we're doing this at, Sunday at 2 a.m. That's gone in this situation. I mean, you could still do that if you want, but technically, yeah, they're rolling it out. So, in that case with Boise, we're working with them and helping them through that process. We've also worked with a few nonprofits that, nonprofits, money's always tight and they're trying to get as much as possible as they can out of their budgets, right? So we've worked with some nonprofits where we've really set them up with ThemeSwitcher. We created a new block theme, mimicked header and footers, got their branding across all the blocks, and then trained them. And essentially now they are self-servicing their own site and slowly iterating, because again, this is a no-code solution once you get to that point, right? So once everything's set up, and again, I don't think we touch on this, but the way we do that slow iteration is we build a block theme. We mimic the header and footer of the live website, assuming that's what they want, which usually they do. They don't want a jarring experience that you're switching between sites or something. So the header and footer look identical. Everything in the middle changes, right? That's where all the blocks, the patterns, all of that. And we style all that up. If we need to do some patterns for them, we'll put patterns together, and then we train them, and then we support them for a period of time. And now they're off on their own, just kind of chipping away at it as they have time. So again, it doesn't always have to be where you're in it for the 18 months, right? It could be, hey, this is a quick engagement. Let me get you set up, get you trained, really give you the tools to self-service your own website here, and off you go. And if you need more help, come back and we could talk. But so a lot of different angles you could take, but once you get that initial theme set up for them, train them on it, then, again, not everybody has time to do that. And that's the angle of having this ongoing work of, hey, we'll do that for you, right? You don't have to, but some people there's no budgets, so they're going to need, the only option is where they're kind of doing it themselves, but it sets them up for success. They can still get to a block theme in a position where they never would have been able to before without getting some kind of a big donation, because there just would never be a budget to redo the whole website top to bottom. So again, great for things like nonprofits and, maybe local businesses, churches, schools, whatever, but people that just don't have budgets and you're trying to get out there and maybe play with it or get a little bit of business drummed up, a good opportunity there too.
Troy adds in the chat, higher ed is a great use case. I'm right in the midst of a massive migration from classic to hybrid over at Carleton University. So yeah, exactly. Just what you're saying. Or you can say,
I've been there too. Yeah, I was going to say, I worked at Vanderbilt when I was several years ago and went through the similar process. So I know Troy understands. I definitely understand the pain that's a part of that. It's funny too, because we've done a lot of talking about like eventually, you have your site replaced. Like, everybody's like, why would you build a plugin that eventually has to get turned off? And it's like, well, that's the whole point of it, right? Like, it's okay if later on down the road, you get the use out of the plugin and turn it off. But what we've also found, especially in areas like high ed or nonprofit, where you do have that, what we call a long lag time between anything needing to be done on the website, sometimes you just need to move a little bit more quickly. And so what we've also found is that there are people that utilize ThemeSwitcher on a more permanent basis to be able to get things on their website that are more rapidly available to them. And a good example of that is if you've got an old legacy website and you just there's no budget for it, right? There's no budget to redo it. It's going to be stuck there probably for as long as you can think about. But you need something to be able to add in, like Brad was talking about earlier, landing pages or content that is a little more, agile in its approach. ThemeSwitcher Pro is a great way to be able to do that, because you can add ThemeSwitcher Pro, add in a secondary theme, set that theme up to where it has even no header and footer, to where you could do squeeze pages or, marketing pages with it, and then be able to develop the blocks that you need, edit those in a full site editing context. And your old site doesn't get touched at all. But now you have one install to where you can go in and modify your legacy content and these brand new marketing and squeeze pages that you now have the ability to add onto the side of, without having to get, with minimal, I wouldn't say you can't get IT involved, because you got to install plugins and stuff like that, but minimal IT involvement along the way. And once that initial setup is done, you can have as many of these new pages as you want without having to worry about your legacy site being affected, because everything again is siloed on a per page basis.
That actually made me think about, like you're saying, like old sites that have been around for a really long time and have like already sort of have this like existing infrastructure. And it reminded me, it made me think about like using ThemeSwitcher as perhaps an alternative in those types of situations where everything's already sort of set to multi-site even. Some of the reasons why you might use multi-site. And I was just thinking of like, Brad, you and I worked a long time ago on a site that like the different editorial teams needed to have access to different parts of the site. So there's all sorts of user permissions type stuff. But like, as like just thinking through like in my head, like that could have been a multi-site. It wasn't a multi-site build. That just wasn't what the build was. But we could give almost the impression of a multi-site. One of the things you can do with a multi-site is have different themes per site. But if you're only on one site, then you can just have, okay, we do the permissions, we handle these people can access this content or whatever and deal with that stuff. And then each of those departments, again, thinking about like, some sort of a corporate site or a higher ed site or even like a nonprofit, like where there's different like divisions, like this part of the site where these people are working, like has a slightly different look and feel because it's using actually a different theme.
Yeah. Right. I mean, there are parallels in some instances to multi-site, and we love multi-site. I would say probably more than half our clients are on multi-site. So we love multi-site. It's a great solution where it makes sense, right? So, and you're right, when you're a multi-site, each site can have its own theme. So this is absolutely a potential alternative to that angle, right? Again, if you just want to roll out a block theme and either chip away your site, or to Mitch's point and your point of having these kind of landing pages or separate things that are just there, using the new block, yeah, there's no reason to kind of overcomplicate what you're trying to do. And again, I'm not saying multi-site isn't solid. It's a great product, but again, it does add more technicality to your website, right? There's more things going on. It doesn't mean they're going to break, but there's inherently more stuff going on. So most people, if your goal is the landing page or, the transition, like we've discussed, multi-site, really, it's not going to help you get there, but this does. And it just, again, we've come across so many companies, sites, orgs that say they're on multi-site and they're not. But the way it was configured is kind of like, well, they're like using, I've seen taxonomies in a sense, kind of acting like sites.
Right.
Because again, we're just grouping content together, right? Which is kind of what multi-site's doing, but multi-site really keeps it separate, right? Through separate tables and everything. So, I think multi-site is such a somewhat of a loaded term because, all of us really know what it is, networks and stuff, but there's also a lot of people that multi-site just means it might be single WordPress if they're doing things interesting. But yeah, it's another approach to it. And honestly, for what we've discussed, these scenarios, multi-site wouldn't really make a lot of sense here. So yeah, it's a different way of looking at it.
Multi-site's great if you have a site where you need like a spoke off of it with like 4, 5, 10 pages. Multi-site is overkill if you need a landing page on a different domain, or on a different spot. And that's what ThemeSwitcher could fill. ThemeSwitcher Pro can fill that gap.
Yeah.
It's basically saying, I need just a single landing page with a different theme that I have more control over. And I can do that easily with ThemeSwitcher Pro versus spinning up a new domain and doing all of these other things with multi-site. Because again, if you're running a whole separate site or a marketing presence, multi-site's great. But if you just need a few extra pages that look different, ThemeSwitcher Pro is a lot less of a technical lift and a lot more of a performant one, I think, because again, you can edit everything in the same spot and it makes it really easy to be able to just get in, do what you need to, and get out and run your business, which is ultimately what I think every plugin should strive to be like, to make it easy for someone to get in and do what they need to, and then to get back out and actually run the business that they're trying to put content on,
Yeah, well, I even remember back when I was at WebDev and we had we need to build this landing page, and so and it's just a single landing page, so you just build a custom template just for that page, and you load that custom template on that page, and yeah, that's exactly.
I mean, ThemeSwitcher Pro, Ollie has beautiful patterns. You could have an amazing looking landing page in literally a minute and have it live on a classic website, on a 2010, on a Kubrick website, right? So we can go pre-2010. Any Kubrick fans out there? You guys remember Kubrick? The pre-2010 theme? Yeah. It would work with that. It does kind of lead into what we're looking at here too. I want to touch on, which are integrations. So we talk about some of these core big components of WordPress, WooCommerce, Lifter, easy digital downloads, LearnDash, these really big products, plugins, right? That a lot of people use and they're awesome. Again, you install WooCommerce on your website. What's it going to look like? It's going to look like the theme you're running, right? Now, is the theme you're running optimized for WooCommerce? Is it optimized for sales? Is it, you know what I mean? And many of them aren't, right? So now we've built a way where within ThemeSwitcher, if you have WooCommerce or any of these three, installed and activated, these will highlight. And now you can say, hey, I want to switch all of WooCommerce to a different theme with one click. So you could still do that manually, right? Because WooCommerce is it creates some pages, it creates your products, custom post type. So you could still go in there and do all that manually with our tool. But what this does, we already know all that stuff. So ThemeSwitcher handles that. As soon as you say, I want WooCommerce to run Ollie, or I want all of WooCommerce to run Storefront, which is the optimized WooCommerce theme from Automatic and Woo Themes, it will just do it. It will run it across all of your entire store. You don't have to do anything else, right? So one click, theme switch integrations. We have Lifter LMS, we have easy digital downloads, and we're actively working on LearnDash, which will be coming out next. So, but the WooCommerce one especially, again, we see people walk in the door, amazing website, great store, but it's not really optimized, right? It just kind of looks like their website because it's using the same theme and they never really went in and tweaked it from there. And I'm like, look, we could switch your theme today to something that immediately looks better and is probably going to convert more sales. But then when we start really tweaking it, we'll get even better. So, it just, again, kind of leaning into these things that really make sense from a WordPress perspective, and these larger products and functionality within WordPress, they should have the ability to run something different because they're such a big component of that website, but they're not the only thing on that website, right? The content, everything else is still there and still important. So just allows you a little bit of separation. Sure, you could do this with multi-site. You could have your own store on a site in the network and run whatever you want, right? But again, that's a very different approach. You're gonna have different users and all that stuff. So a lot of different ways to tackle the same, but this, again, leaning into ThemeSwitcher and leaning into that single site approach, I really love these integrations because it's, again, that game changer moment. You click it, and then anywhere you go in WooCommerce, it runs Ollie or storefront or whatever you set. It touches nothing else. Like, again, it's a game changer. So really like these integrations. We're going to keep looking at adding more where it makes sense for the kind of some of these larger plugins. But these have been a big hit.
Well, I remember back in the day, in the responsive development days, when there were like themes that were like mobile specific themes. So
You
like
date yourself now, Chris.
I know, right? I'm old.
Seriously.
This is when we had to build 2 websites for every customer.
Yeah.
Desktop
So
and mobile.
So there's like specific themes you could get from WordPress.org. I don't remember if it was a plugin or just a bunch of plugins or themes from the store, but like you'd have your normal site, and then when you're on a mobile, it would like it did whatever, like media queries. So like, yeah, just this same sort of idea though, with like
Yep.
having a separate part of your site that is using essentially like a different theme. You mentioned at the top about having agencies sort of use this tool to assist in theirs, like take on additional work.
Mhm.
Talk a little bit about like what you see, or maybe you've already like talked to agencies about ThemeSwitcher. Like how can agencies like sort of take the most benefit the most from ThemeSwitcher?
Yeah, great question. So I've definitely shared this around, been on kind of a educational tour and sending copies to friends and agency owners and stuff. So a lot of great feedback. A lot of agencies have started to kind of dig into it. It's one of these tools where it fundamentally changes. It doesn't fundamentally change, but it can change what you offer. And so it's one of these tools you need to kind of get into and understand it, right? So how it would work with your clients, your workflow, how you would potentially sell it, to a client. So what I would say the number one thing is, get a copy of the plugin, start kicking the tires. Reach out. I'm happy to send you a copy of the plugin to test. I ask if you use it for, production. You buy a license, of course, for your clients. But, we're also looking for a lot of feedback too, because again, this is a very different way of thinking about how to work with WordPress sites. And so it's doing, we're getting on with Pantheon, like you, Chris. Thank you for having us on, and like really just kind of showing off what we have, because we just want people to know it's available. And that way, when the right project or the right client or something, they're like, oh, wait, I should go look at ThemeSwitcher. This is the perfect client. They don't have a ton of budget, but we really want to help them. This could help, right? So, and also just in today's world, the uncertainty in tech, everything's changing so rapidly, ongoing relationships, ongoing, support, retainers, like having more of a partnership with a client versus just a one and done is very, very important in these days. And I've been running an agency almost 2 decades. So trust me, things are changing rapidly and we need to evolve too. So having options, being able to figure out, hey, rather than having a client around for 3 months, what if the client's going to be around for 24 months? Like, that's stability. You can plan against that. So again, having these options of more of an ongoing engagement versus a one-off from an agency or even just a freelancer or just a business standpoint is a very good thing to be doing right now, as there's just a lot of uncertainty and nobody knows where tech's going to be in 5 years from now. So get those engagements, look for those long-term opportunities, bring these solutions to your clients, because again, show them that. And we have a couple videos on our YouTube that are really short, like 2-minute, showing that switch from classic to block, because again, that is that light bulb moment. And when we show our clients, you can see their eyes light up. Like, can you see someone talk to someone that's stuck on classic and they know what they're missing? It's like they're standing outside of the party looking in the window like, man, I really want to be in there, but I don't have an invite. Well, invite them in. We got a way to get them into the party, right? And we'll get them on blocks. And but again, you show them this and you're bringing this solution to them that is not a, hey, I need 50 grand today type of solution. I need 50 grand over the next 12 months. You're going to make more sales. I promise you.
Yep.
So reach out, check out our videos. We got a lot of documentation online. Best thing you do is just get the product and start kicking the tires and just see how it works for you and your clients and what you're doing, and just get comfortable with it and think how you could, bring this to your clients or bring this to your team.
And we've gone through and have tested ThemeSwitcher Pro with a majority of what we call the top WordPress themes, either premium themes that we have relationships with and we've been able to test them out with, or a lot of the top themes that are available in the theme repository for WordPress. But we are always looking for other options. And so, if you have a question, if you're like, I don't know if this will work with my theme and it's an off the shelf theme, or it's one that was built in a certain way, like, reach out to us, because we would love to be able to take a look and see not only if it could be a good fit for you, but how could we make it a good fit for you? Because there are no unique problems, I've learned in web development. Chances are, if somebody has a problem, somebody else has it as well. And if we can use that data to be able to help more than one person, if we can help one person out, great. But if we can then take that and help out more people that are kind of stuck in a similar situation, that helps us to be able to get the data we need to be able to figure out what features we should roll out next. We talked about LearnDash. We're working on an integration for that to where it works natively out of the box. We're always looking for other top plugins that people are using to say, hey, how can we make this work and make the switch over from the old and drab to the new and fab a lot easier and a lot better. And so if anyone has questions, like there's a way to get a hold of us on the ThemeSwitcher.com website. We're in several of the local WordPress Slack channels and all of that good stuff. I'm just a DM away, and if I don't know the answer, I'm happy to get it for you. And that's how I try to do with everything. So just ask. We'll see what we can do to help.
Well, thank you guys for coming on. I threw your ThemeSwitcher.com on the screen a little bit ago, so people can go visit the website and check out the plugin. Where can people find you all and get in touch with you on the internet, or if they want to get in touch some other way?
Yeah, well, we're WebDevStudios.com, of course, ThemeSwitcher.com, as you mentioned. I'm generally Williams BA everywhere, Twitter, Poststatus, Slack, like you said, Mitch. But yeah, reach out. We're very approachable on LinkedIn, of course. Reach out. We're happy to help answer questions or at least point you in the right direction. So, but definitely thank you for having us on, Chris. This is a lot of fun.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. And I'm on most of the socials as either at that Mitch Canter or my content creating persona, which is Commander CMDR Mitchcraft. And either one of those, if you message me and let me know it's WordPress related, you might be sorry because we'll probably be talking about it for a while through DMs. But I'm happy to answer whatever questions anybody throws our way.
Or apparently, if we mention that we play D&D on the side, then I've learned that before.
I think they organized a game before we started.
That would be so fun. Oh my gosh.
All right. Well, thank you all for coming on. Thank you, everyone, for watching live or in the future. And definitely go out and check Brad and Mitch individually on ThemeSwitcher.com, on WebDevStudios.com, in the world, in the meat space world that we sometimes occupy. But in the meantime, thank you all for being here, and we'll see you on the internet.
Take care.